From the broken ruins of Babylon, this is From the broken ruins of Babylon. This is From the broken ruins of Babylon. Oh, so sorry, everybody. It looked like we had some feedback there because I forgot to close the streaming page. Common mistake here on End of Days Radio. Might have screwed up our opening, but hey, looks like we're started. We're live. My internet must be a little crappy because I'm looking at my screen and I look extremely fuzzy right now, which is not cool at all. But we carry on. Once again, I am your host, Daniel. This is End of Days Radio, broadcasting to you all the way from that shimmering Emerald City, right here in the heart of the Pacific Northwest. Today's date, it looks like it's November 6th. 2022. It is a Sunday evening here in the Pacific Northwest. We just passed up Halloween. The guest tonight was actually supposed to be on my Halloween show, but had a little bit of a scheduling issue, and we rescheduled for tonight. So we're a little bit late in that aspect, but we're still very close to Halloween and very close to Spooktober. So I hope you guys enjoyed our past two shows. The roundtable shows were a huge hit. Everybody had a great time. And here we are, back to the normal swing of things. Our guest tonight is very special. His name is Joshua Chairs. He's the founder of Phantom Detectives. He's a paranormal investigator, writer, researcher, musician, and publicist. Chairs got interested in the supernatural at an early age while watching Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack. His interest in the supernatural peaked in 2022 when he had the opportunity to investigate the General Wayne Inn in Marion Station, Pennsylvania. Chairs is a 2008 graduate of Westchester University and a future graduate student majoring in business administration. In 2014, he co-founded the Summerwind Restoration Society along with Wisconsin paranormal investigator Craig Nerig. Their goal was to use the original blueprints of the Summerwind Mansion to restore, rebuild, and relaunch Summerwind Mansion as a museum. With its haunted history, Summerwind is known to be the most haunted locations in Wisconsin. In August of 2020, Chairs founded the Phantom Detectives to help people who were going through paranormal experiences. Using the Paranormal Research Society blueprint, Chairs is hoping to build a team of renowned paranormal investigators and is dedicated to helping people that are going through these experiences. Chairs has investigated the Sanderson Museum, Selma Mansion, Mill of Anselma, White Chimneys, the General Wayne Inn, Fort Mifflin, Pennhurst, Smyrna Museum in De Paoli Battlefield, Gettysburg, Chad's Ford Historical Society, and many other locations. On May 24th, 2021, Joshua's Future LLC company purchased the right to the late Art Bell's former affiliate director's news program, Dark Matter News. All right. Now that is interesting indeed. So I invite everybody after we talk to our guests to stick around after the interview when we do our news and wrap up and roundtabling portion of the show. It doesn't really have an official name. I apologize for that. And of course, visit the website, endofdaysradio.com. There you can find a link to our Discord channel. Stop by and chat with us. You can also donate. You can donate through PayPal, or you can use crypto. You can donate Bitcoin. I very much appreciate your donations. Thank you to everybody that has donated. You guys have definitely helped give me some staying power. So your donations are definitely appreciated. And hey, that's enough chit chatter. Let's go ahead and talk to our guest, Joshua Chairs. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Let's see here.
Hello, Daniel. How are you today?
Hey, Joshua. I'm doing great. Am I pronouncing your name properly?
Yes, you are. It is Chairs, with a capital CHAIR, and add the ES. Basically, just sit in a chair and just add the ES. So I'm looking forward to any questions that come in from your end or your listeners' end.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really exciting to have you on. I used to listen to the Dark Matter radio network, and I remember when that whole thing was going on, and it was so tragic when Art Bell passed. really excited for you to, get the rights to that name.
Oh, absolutely. It's something very important. And Leo, in May of 2021, he reached out and said, "Hey, I no longer want Dark Matter News. Would you be interested in buying it?" So we talked about a price and we discussed it, and we acquired the rights to the name, the logos, the trademark. We trademarked it in December of 2021, and we relaunched it as a paranormal news hub on all things UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, everything paranormal that goes in the field. So we bought it and rebranded it under the Phantom Detectives LLC membership, and we have a brand new website, darkmatternews.com. And we also, Leo Ashcraft has begun recording new paranormal news segments exactly like he did with Art Bell. And eventually we're going to relaunch the Dark Matter Digital Network when Tim Osmond gets Radio King up and running. So that'll be really awesome.
All right, that is very big news. The return of the Dark Matter Radio Network. It sounds like you're trying to get things up to full swing over there.
Oh, absolutely. And I have actually, I just found out something really cool. Vincent Pontius lives an hour from me, and he's actually the son of Art Bell. He actually basically lives like an hour from me. He's his oldest son, and he was born back in the 60s. A really nice guy. And I've been talking to him a lot as well. So Vince is, looks a lot like Art and has his love for the paranormal. So he's a very cool guy. And, I know he definitely has a lot of knowledge of his father as well.
That's exciting news as well. Who would figure that Art Bell's actual son would be involved? That's awesome. I mean, talk about continuing the generations of what we're doing here. That's great news.
Absolutely. And I know basically like, having Dark Matter News is very important because those news segments were a big part of Art Bell's Midnight in the Desert in 2015. And when Leo left and was replaced by my former boss, Amy Martin, she did a good job, but I don't think that she had the same kind of energy that Leo did. Leo brought a certain style and finesse to it that nobody else had. So hopefully we'll be able to get enough news segments recorded and we'll get the network back up and running and basically have live shows in the future.
Definitely exciting for me personally. I'm a huge fan of Art Bell and somebody that was greatly inspired by him. So the continuing that name and that legacy is definitely meaningful for me and a lot of my listeners out there. But let's talk about a little bit about more about you, Joshua.
Sure.
So do you mind just telling us a little bit about your early days? I always like to kind of start with the childhood because that's kind of what begins to define us. What did you grow up out there in the East?
Yeah, I've been always on the East Coast my entire life, and I originally got my start in the paranormal watching a show called Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack. Everyone, usually when they were kids, will watch that show because it was one of the first shows that talked about the unexplained. And I got to watch an episode when I was a 4-year-old kid in 1988 called The Haunting of the General Wayne Inn in Marion Station, Pennsylvania. And the General Wayne Inn dates back to 1705. It's an old coaching inn, and many people have reported have a lot of paranormal experiences there, from cars starting on their own to Hessian soldiers spotted in the basement to various other, basically dignitaries such as Marquis de Lafayette, Edgar Allan Poe, also Ben Franklin, George Washington, all sort of mailed there and stayed there. And so basically, I had the rare opportunity 14 years later in 2002 to investigate the General Wayne Inn when I was 17, 18 years old with a late parapsychologist by the name of Michael Mayer. Basically, she has since passed away. But in the basement area, I had started using a digital camera and started recording using basically just a standard disposable camera. And there I called in the basement area where a Hessian soldier named Wilhelm from the Revolutionary War has been spotted. I actually took 3 consecutive photos, and one of them had these really weird green and yellow streaks of light. It matches the eyewitness accounts of this people seeing this Hessian soldier in the Revolutionary War.
Oh my God, that would be pretty crazy. I mean, was it an apparition? Was it see through, or was it like
It it was actually like we did like a lot of people have actually seen that apparition in various parts of the inn on the steps. People have seen his head basically in the kitchen area. People have also seen the apparition in the basement, and where I caught those green and yellow streaks of light, it looked like to be a partial body apparition. And I do know right around that time, the Hessian soldiers were actually, there's actually an old, like in the basement area, there's actually an old tunnel that goes supposedly outside of New Jersey, where Colonel Raw was leading the Hessian soldiers when Washington attacked attacked the Delaware when he wrote on, the famous boat picture, and when he attacked the Hessian camp, thus basically, winning the battle, and basically, there, so that all that eyewitness account history with the partial by apparitions, that the old inn is still very active today.
I've heard that sometimes ghosts will just appear like as a head. I've heard about that happening. Like sometimes you'll see just a torso, or you'll see
Yeah.
just even feet, or just a head. That's kind of strange how that happens.
Oh, absolutely. And it really depends on how they manifest themselves. Sometimes they like to show themselves basically, to full body apparition to some people. Sometimes there might be certain smells or other sensations. Sometimes it might be, from a voice or basically a dream. Spirits have different ways of communicating with the living, based upon like how that person, if they respect them or they don't respect them. Every apparition is different.
Do you think it might have something to do with energy? Like sometimes they're able to form themselves more, and sometimes they're not really able to.
Yes, the law of energy states that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but move from one form to another. So if basically spirits can, use like electromagnetic fields and basically manifest themselves and drain the batteries of paranormal equipment, they definitely, so the law of energy states that they can move and transfer forms. That to me shows that yes, spirits can very much act on command and can move from, in different forms and different styles, sometimes with, showing themselves via orbs, or sometimes showing themselves like you said, as a foot or a different body part. So there's all, sometimes there's like smoke and mist scenes. So it really just depends on the location and the history of the location, how they, are they intelligent, are they residual, demonic, or poltergeist?
Now, this is a very spooky sort of field. How did you find how did you gain this strong passion towards this subject matter?
I, of course, watching Unsolved Mysteries, and of course, basically studying. I started studying UFOs at an early age too, because I was really interested in a lot of, paranormal researchers like Linda Moulton Howe. I've watched her since 1993 when she was on NBC, filming a show called The Other Side. I was also very much interested in, basically, flying saucers. I used to basically, read books about it in school and study it. So I've had a lifelong passion for this ever since I was a child. And of course, I used to love Ghostbusters when I was a kid, watched that like all the time. And, so I think I just got more and more interested. And then when the ghost hunting shows started coming out around like 2004, Ghost Hunters came out, and then Ghost Adventures in 2008 after I graduated college, and then Paranormal State with Ryan Buell and Heather Taddy and Katrina Weidman, and then all these shows started coming out from what basically art started back in the '90s on Coast to Coast AM and Dreamland. So to me, like this field is constantly evolving, and I have had a lifelong passion from day one, and been doing this for quite a few years now.
Do you get challenged often by skeptics that deny the existence of spirits or ghosts or other planes?
Oh, absolutely. Especially having to deal with atheists and different, saying that there's no such thing as life after death. And basically, sometimes they'll try to say, prove me wrong. And then when I come back and show them, like, a picture of a thermal camera, hit or an EVP, they'll say, well, that's, overactive imagination, or there's nothing there. Or if you show them like an SLS camera, against a solid wall, and, the thing is mapping itself using the camera, they'll say, well, oh, that's something, that's basically, it's the software doing that. It's not a spirit trying to show themselves. So to me, it's always difficult to be able to prove, life beyond death to people that don't have an open mind. In this field, you have to have an open mind to be able to basically, do what we do. So basically, I work with open-minded people that are kind of like skeptics. Sometimes they're neutral, meaning like they don't fully believe the story, but they also are open to the idea of it, depending on if it happens to them. So I believe, I consider myself a skeptic, and basically over the last, 5 years I've done this, I think I've been proven that there's a strong correlation that there is life after death, and basically every spirit that we encounter has a story to tell, and the history of the location has a story to tell as well.
So that being said, would you say that you have a strong belief in life after death? And since you do, what would that look like? Like, uh, do you have theories or personal beliefs in regards to what happens? Are we judged? Are we supposed to go into the light? Do some of us float around? Any
Well,
theories on the process?
oh yes, absolutely. In fact, there's a new book that our psychic medium. He's actually a researcher on the team named Mark Anthony. He's a psychic lawyer. He's a world-renowned psychic medium, Oxford-educated attorney. He studied advanced mediumship, and also he helped resolve a really hard, cracked a rare criminal case. He wrote a book called The Afterlife Frequency, and he discusses how the electromagnetic soul is like this, basically this ripple effect, and how basically like you throw a stone into the water and it starts dribbling down and it creates ripples and there's echoes of those ripples. That's exactly what spirits is. And since water is like a conduit for paranormal activity, I think the more that I've consistently worked in this field and growing fan detectives from the ground up, I am starting to become less and less of a skeptic and more of a believer. And I believe that people, from what they've seen of our evidence so far, the first 13 investigations of fan detectives, more and more people are starting to be proved. I'm starting to prove a lot of people are wrong in the field.
Oh, okay. So you personally have felt a shift in your beliefs and a shift in the way that you see things through your own investigations.
Absolutely. And what's amazing is every single place we go, Rick is our basically our he runs his own UFO organization called Extraterrestrial Research Center. He's also been fully educated and certified through MUFON. Basically, he's our lead investigator and our tech manager, and he does all the interviews, the audio interviews with the clients. He actually basically brings a lot of his quantitative skills to the talent pool. And of course, we have a psychic medium, Melissa Ferrazzano, who also studies advanced mediumship and advanced development. And she also, we can use her readings to be able to use our equipment to validate what she's feeling or seeing. And basically, then once we have that, we can pair it with our equipment, and that gives us a strong correlation. Spirits, a lot of times, when you're respectful and you're kind to them and you treat them with respect, and you're going to get a lot of results. And on every investigation we've had, we've always come up with at least one piece of evidence, from either an EVP to a camera hit to one of our devices going off. I think it just comes down to how you approach the spirits. And like, for example, the Zach Baggins method of saying, "Hey, you did it to him, now do it to me," is, I think, the wrong way to do it, because that can start. You might get like scratches on your arms or your legs. The best way to do it is say please and thank you, and you'll see that you'll get a lot of positive results when you respect, and say thank you for letting us come in your home or your business, and you'll get a lot of positive results. And also, spirits a lot of times pick and choose what kind of apparatuses they want to use. I've noticed on many of our investigations where we'll take certain apparatuses, they won't work at all, but then we take them to other locations and other rooms in these locations, and they'll go off like crazy. So really, spirits basically move the equipment, and they transfer all the equipment from place to place. So it's pretty amazing to see how all this stuff is evolved from a digital camera and the old EMF meter to now all these various cameras and high tech gadgetry. That the ghost hunting field has came a long way in 20 years.
Yeah, that's fascinating. The fact that the equipment itself is always kind of improving. Earlier, however, you mentioned working with psychic mediums. I take it you have a strong belief in like a sixth sense or ESP, or spiritual powers.
Yes, absolutely. I consider myself a semi-sensitive. Like But Melissa, especially, she has studied under Cindy Kaza from the Holzer files. She is very gifted at picking up her reading. She has learned and soaked up all of Cindy's knowledge. And basically, she's the real deal. And her website is psychicmediumautumn.com. And basically, of course, we got the psychic lawyer team. So we use mediums because I believe mediums can add a lot to the investigations. Because basically, when they're seeing and feeling things, and you can, take pictures and sweep, get EMF sweeps near them, they might the spirits might be somehow attached to them a lot easier than near you. So I believe strongly that using psychic mediums on investigations should be highly encouraged if you have the right kind of medium. Like if you have like a medium that is really good in basically different types of communication. Like there's some that are really good at like feeling things, and others are really good at seeing things. So there's also one called a clairaudient, which is like hearing spirits. There's also clairvoyant, which is seeing things, and there's also clairsentient, which is sensing spirits.
Yeah, this is all very fascinating. I actually read on your website that Melissa, she does full-time homeschooling, and she's a special needs parent. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Wanted to give a shout out to her for that. That's definitely something to be applauded.
Oh, absolutely. She is really amazing, and she's very patient, and I think she's done a great job. Every investigation, like I give her no knowledge of any of the history of these locations. I'm kind of very much the team historian. I know everything is about the backstory of every location we've been, and she is able to at least provide one thing from her readings that match the history of the location. So when you have a psychic medium like Melissa's caliber, and she's an advanced psychic medium and very gifted, you can really add a lot to your investigation. So she has really picked up on things that I could never explain, that I could never do myself, or anybody that I've known in the field. And yet, it just constantly, every time, it's more and more. She's picking up more and more from these places, which is really amazing.
And it's my understanding you also record EVPs. Is that correct?
Yes, we actually have a different version of EVPs. We like to call ours Phantom Time, because since we're called Phantom Detectives, we're detecting the paranormal in haunted locations worldwide. We like to use the phantoms to come out and show themselves to us. So what we'll do is we'll normally start an EVP session in a circle or sit around, basically like on a table or something like that. And what we'll do is we'll just basically hit our audio recorders, and then just start basically asking questions like, who is here? Are you male? Are you female? You have a message for us, and stuff like that. And then usually what we'll do is after going through Phantom Time, then we'll go back and basically upload our audio recorder. We'll plug it into a USB drive on our computers, and then once we go listen on the USB drive, we just load up Audacity, which is a simple free audio program, truly wonderful, and then we just amplify everything and just start listening. And sometimes it's always important if you cough or sneeze when doing EVPs to say tag, so that way you can tag your audio recorder so you know not to listen to that piece of audio evidence. But when you really listen, sometimes you'll really pick up on some rare spirit voices. And almost every investigation, we've called at least one EVP, and a lot of them are quite amazing. But right on our website, phantomdetectives.org, under EVPs.
And what type of we were talking a little bit about the equipment earlier.
Yes.
What type of equipment are you guys using? What are the main types
Of voice recorders, or just any?
Any sort of equipment you use out there in the field?
Oh man, there's so much. We have, among the three of us, we have over 100 pieces of equipment. Some of
Wow.
the main things we have the Phasm light, which is from Ghost Stop. It changes the lighting like from like red to purple to violet, and usually because we record all of our investigations on Second Team Entertainment, we have a TV show on Roku, Fire, Apple, and Google Play. 2ndteamentertainment.com. We've also used a Mel meter, which is a standard, picks up electromagnetic fields and also picks up temperature. But our Mel meter is the upgraded version, which also includes the laser grid lights and the REM pod. It has its little lights on it, as well as, we also have an SLS camera. We have an original digital dowsing SLS camera like Bill Chappell built on Ghost Adventures. There's only about 20 in existence, and I got one of them from a friend of Dave Schrader's, which is really cool. Shout out to Dave. And we also basically got other things such as thermal cameras. We also got ghost boxes, PSB 7, PSB 11, the S box from Ghost Stock, which backs up our Ghost AM and FM sweeps. And a really cool thing is, a lot of times you'll pick up spirit voices on the radio station by using the AM and FM dials forward or backwards. And you just have to know exactly what you're listening to. But a lot of times we hook it up to a portal box, which is a modified guitar amplifiers with pedals. It cleans up the spirit box. And then what we do is we hook up our psychic medium with a blindfold, and then we put glasses on. And then what we do is we start letting her, basically, it's called the Estes method. And the Estes method is used on kindred spirits, other ghost hunting shows. And our version is the more advanced version of, it's called the Chairs Warner method. Instead of blindfolding just our psychic medium and putting noise canceling headphones on her and hooking her up with a ghost box, we also add in, basically a paralight, which is a modified K2 light. And we also use a voice recorder. So if there's any spirit voice that's talking, or if they set off a piece of equipment, we can, use all of our equipment around her to be able to pick things up. And when she's picking things up, we also use the Ovilus 5. And the Ovilus is a really cool device. It uses the electromagnetic field to pick up words and responses that the spirits might be saying. And on our last investigation, the word 40, Melissa was picking up on the word 40, and it was and basically the Ovilus 5 also came up with the word 40. So when you can pair the Ovilus 5 with it, and we also use the Paranormal Puck 2 from Digital Dowsing, which picks up different, different humidity, barometric pressure, different things in the environment, like what the cold, the temperature is. We also use other apparatuses such as REM pods. We also use a gyroscope, which is like a rotating ghost dial. It picks up words and responses using a light. You basically put your hand with a light and it'll light up a certain yes, no, maybe, kind of like a Ouija board, but a rotating Ouija board. And also we also use other devices. So we have so many devices in our inventory, I can't even name them all.
You said you use a device like an Ouija board.
Yes.
Do you use actual Ouija boards too?
We try to stay away from those because we definitely feel it opens up, people that are into the occult might, and it's very dangerous. But ours is a little different because it's called the Paranologies Gyroscope, and the gyroscope was developed by Jerome Jones of Paranologies, and they're very hard to get. But if you can get one, they work very well. And basically, what it does, you put your hand near a light, it'll start rotating like counterclockwise and clockwise, and it'll light up it'll spell out words. Basically, it'll light up each word, and it's just kind of like the same idea of a Ouija board, except it's all automatic. It does it by itself.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's what's really cool about it. And one of our other, of course, we have those simple light up cat balls, those little, basically balls that dogs and little cats use. And funny thing is, some of those pieces of equipment work better than some of our $300 or $400 pieces of equipment. So it's all based upon if you have a child spirit, they might be more interested in a little light up, basically cat ball versus a $300 gyroscope.
Have you gotten some pretty good results with some of this equipment?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, from every investigation that we've done, at least one thing goes off. I can say that, especially because Rick also has this Medusa head. It's this snake lady with snake lady hair. That thing goes off a lot. We also have an Annabelle REM pod, which basically from the Annabelle movies, it's like a replica of her. So every single piece of equipment, at least that we've had in our inventory, everything is going off at least one time in different rooms that we've been in, different places. So I could definitely validate that a lot of the equipment that we have, usually we spread it out over, if we're in mansions or if we're in, the ships that we're going to be a ship on Friday, usually we'll spread it out all over the venue. And then a lot of times when we're not in these rooms, our security cameras, we have a 4-camera DVR system. If we're not in a room, the DVR system will sometimes pick up on things too.
Joshua, do you guys ever go to like paranormal gatherings or conventions or get-togethers or anything like that?
Oh yes, absolutely. We actually were just at in Media, Pennsylvania, out here a little bit out about 30 minutes outside of Philadelphia. We're at Fright Fest, which is like for a big for horror movie authority enthusiasts. It's
I've heard
really
of that one, Fright Fest. Yeah.
really awesome. We set up a vendor table and we got to meet a lot of great like-minded people, and it was a lot of fun. And also, we were just invited to attend a Themanology 2023 out in Gettysburg with Stephen and Pam Barry. Dave Schrader and Shane Pittman from the Holzer Files were there a lot to set up a vendor table. And basically, so we're already starting to get our name out there, setting up a vendor table, communicating with like-minded people. And I've also been to the Pennhurst convention out here in Spring City, Pennsylvania, and also Para-Unity, which is up in the upper part of New Jersey, right outside Hoboken, where Mike Marshall, like the owner of Dark Matter Digital Network, lives. So basically, I've been to a lot of the conventions in my area that are within like 2 hour drive.
Did you do anything fun or interesting for Halloween?
Actually, no. Yeah, actually, we did have some pretty fun things that we did for Halloween. Actually, we did a really fun little like a raffle recently on Halloween Day, and basically try to give out a couple pieces of equipment. So what we did, we just basically drew some people's names, and basically gave them some like little like REM pod ghosts and stuff like that. So that was really fun. So we really are into this field and we're very passionate about helping our clients. We want every client that we do an investigation with to feel comfortable and feel very much that they can trust us. And that's why I'm really excited about the launch of paranormalsocieties.org. It's my friend Josh Vanderwedding's website. He was a friend of Bill Wilk. Bill created a website in 2007 called paranormalsocieties.com, and Bill actually, no one's heard from him since June of 2020. He's like disappeared. So Josh has created this new paranormal directory for teams and different businesses to submit their info into the directory. And the great thing about the directory is once we're in there, people that have cases will be able to submit it to the directory, and then the person who runs the website, Josh, he'll refer those cases to his clients that submit them to us. That's going to bring us more investigations, more traffic. And we got the lightship overfalls this Friday, which is going to be really awesome. There's only about 5 or 6 light ships left. It's like a lighthouse on a ship in the United States. And we're going to be doing a paranormal investigation there from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And we're going to be one of the few teams that have ever done investigation there.
You said it's a ship?
Yep, it's called the Lightship Overfalls. It's in southern Delaware, in Lewis, which is right by the beach area, like Rehoboth and that area, and it's a really amazing location. It was built in 1938, decommissioned in 72. So if someone needed if a ship needed to find land, these light ships would basically act as it's like a movable lighthouse on water. So it's going to be really cool to be able to do
Yeah,
it
that sounds
paranormal.
like a good one.
Absolutely, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We've also been to mansions. We've been to the Betsy Ross house in Philadelphia. Captured some growls on our website, phantomdetectives.org. We also were at the Mill of Aunt Selma, which is really amazing. That night that my former lead investigator and I were there, she since left the team and started her career. But that night, we caught a door flying open on its own, and the security camera picked it up, and that thing was latched shut. There's no way you would have to push it up physically like this. And there was no rain, there was no thunder, it wasn't like, there's nothing that I could explain how that happened. But it's on our YouTube channel, Phantom Detectives LLC, and it's under like short clips. So you can see that thing just bolt up and latch up and fly. And we also captured a rope swinging up by its own as well that night. So we've been to a lot of places and we're very experienced. We have over like at least 15 years experience combined in the field.
Have you ever got into this stuff about dolls moving around?
Not yet per se, but I have, of course, watched the Annabelle movies. I've heard a lot of different people in the field that have had haunted dolls, and I know that people have, seen like, different kind of dolls that have been known to move, their eyes going to light up. Sometimes they, wake at night and basically frighten kids and different people. So I have not had that happen yet personally myself. But in the future, on a future investigation that we do as we continue to grow and get bigger, I definitely feel, we may run across a case that we have to that involves a haunted door in the future.
Don't you get the creeps dealing with this stuff? Like, haven't how do you deal with all the fear? I mean, I'd have a hard time doing it because I would be kind of afraid. How do you deal with those emotions?
I think dealing with those emotions, you have to kind of keep yourself in check. You have to be calm, cool, and collected. It requires a lot of patience because setting up equipment and then breaking it down at night and then going to and from these locations, there's gas involved and the wear and tear and such. But you just have to be very kind of patient because going through like watching hours of security cameras is not very fun. But the reward is when you get something like a door flying open on its swinging open by its own, or a really cool, you see a full body apparition on, your thermal camera, or pick up a rare EVP, or you see a piece of equipment going off when no one's in the room. That to me is the greatest reward, knowing that these spirits are haunting these locations. They have a story to tell, and they want to reveal themselves to us. We don't get rid of spirits. That's something that trained demonologists do in the field, such as Dave Giuliano, Billy Bean, basically Father Jack Ashcraft, who was a good friend of Father Malachi Martin's. So basically, I believe that all these, you just have to have, basically patience, and you have to have basically just a calming demeanor. And when you have those things that we do, we always we always do really good. So it's very natural to us. But sometimes these investigations will suck the life out of you. Um, there was this guy's apartment in Philadelphia who basically, which is really crazy, was he had some markings that were almost like of a UFO abduction. Then he also had basically shared us like some apparitions of like alien spirits in this apartment, and we went in there. We felt very nauseated, there was also when we scanned the ghost box, basically using the PSB7, we picked up something called the potty mouth spirit. We heard these curse words coming out of the spirit box, and then basically we found out there was also a 19-year-old kid that took his life in this apartment sometime probably back during the 1990s, according to our research. And then all this stuff that happens. These investigations sometimes you'll feel like the wind was knocked right out of you, and then when you get home, you're feeling like you're sick for days. So there's a lot that goes on to these locations. And also on some of our investigations, our team members reported having a heaviness like in their chest, like, a lot of pressure, like someone's just pushing down on it. So it can be very, very dangerous. You just have to basically be prepared for everything. And we always encourage every paranormal investigation team throughout the world to, make sure to pour holy water on yourself. Make sure to burn sage if you have to do any kind of cleansings. Say the Lord's Prayer or Saint Michael's. The more prepared that you can be spiritually, the better you can handle these investigations.
That sounds like good advice to me. I mean, me personally, I burn a lot of sage. I definitely noticed that I feel a little bit more positive and up after I burn some of it. Any theories on why that works or what that does?
I think it's been passed down from the Native Americans over the last 200 years. It's been a ritual that they have done because spirits and belief in ghosts have been even the Bible mentions about spirits and ghosts and how to deal with them. So Native Americans have rituals that I believe work that have been passed down from generation to generation. So if you apply these techniques that you've learned, and basically a lot of them are also trained with white light and positive healing things. I think that sage can basically, what it does is it basically lets the spirit know that, hey, you're not wanted here if it's a demon or a poltergeist, and it lets them know, hey, you got to get out and basically go to where you came from. So basically, a lot of times, burning sage, it kind of creates a positive aura because we all have auras around us, and basically, so we can basically burn sage in different parts of the house and use smudge sticks. You're going to get sometimes you either can get rid of the ghost, or you might be able to basically not quite banish it, but basically you might be able to take care of it for a time before it comes back again. So the best thing you can do is just using smudge sticks and burning sage is one of the best techniques that you can do in cleansing a property, and it's worked for hundreds of years.
What about ritual magic? Do you believe in it? And is it dangerous? Can it bring spirits into the home and make your house haunted?
I believe tarot cards, Ouija boards, anything that deals with the occult is very dangerous for every person that uses stuff like that, that does seances and stuff like that. Because I believe what happens is you're basically making opening up a portal of spirits that you don't want to end up basically basically spirits all can go through different portals and can shift and travel on command. So basically, when you for all these different things like tarot cards and all that, it's very very dangerous, and we encourage nobody to get involved in any kind of occult activities because you're going to be letting in Pandora's box when it comes to negative entities. Because once they attach themselves to you, it's hard to get rid of them. I've noticed that on quite a few of our cases. Basically, people I've seen a haunting and watching ghost hunters and seeing some of their cases, and of course, my longtime friend Katrina Weidman, who I know personally, she can tell you firsthand that basically getting involved in these occult activities is opening up a door that basically you can't close.
Have you run into any? I'm sorry. Have you run into any shadow beings?
Shadow people, not yet. I'm going to say we've had like I've seen shadows at like Penhurst, and Penhurst is a pretty amazing location itself. It was actually built in 1908. It was closed in 1987. It's an insane asylum for special needs people, and it was what at one time one of the top buildings in Pennsylvania. Basically, so this location actually, I've actually captured shadows in the Mayflower building, which is one of the main buildings. Paranormal investigations. It's open to the public. They do public investigations every Saturday and Sunday at Penhurst, and also we've captured shadows. It's kind of really weird in the bottom of the Philadelphia building where there's this long tunnel, and I actually captured at least 3 or 4 shadows of children running by, and I have no
Ooh,
explanation how that happened, and it just like gored, it scared, it made the hair stand up on my arms.
yeah, that is creepy for sure. I mean, that's got to be a ghost, right? Like that's got to be some remnants of a child or something like that. I mean, that's some trippy stuff. I mean, it's kind of freaky, but it's good evidence, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, it is, and especially a lot of times, especially at Penhurst, it's very like the halls, and sometimes you'll hear like I swore I heard like the children laughing, like running down these halls. So Penhurst has a lot of children, and there's a lot of special needs children that died on the property. So that energy is still there. Much like if you go out to Gettysburg, which is right out like 2 hours from me western Pennsylvania in central south central Pennsylvania, 60,000 people lost their lives there. So that energy is still there. It's more of a residual haunting, which is like a tape recorder that plays itself over and over. But Gettysburg is not going to be one of those haunted places at all. So I definitely feel that these spirits are haunting. Pennsylvania is one of the best places to go for para investigating.
Is Do you think that's why? Because of the battles that happen, or maybe the Native Americans that live there? Any theories on that?
Oh yeah, in Pennsylvania, there's a lot of Native American burial mounds in different parts of the state. I can also confirm, like this is where the country started. I mean, everybody and anybody lived in Philadelphia in the 1700s. This is where America was founded. I mean, our first constitutional convention in 1787. The Declaration of Independence was signed at Independence Hall in 1776. We've had the Battle of Gettysburg. I mean, we have Fort Mifflin, Fort Delaware. I mean, there's so much out here, and it's really amazing. It's probably the best place in the country to do para investigating. I think we're in the best state of all.
Do you feel that spirits are more likely to come out on certain dates, like a full moon or Halloween, or when the stars are right or the energy is right?
Oh, I think so. A lot of times we like to call it dead time, which is basically, usually we do investigations from like 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and go sometimes to 12, sometimes 2 a.m. I've noticed a lot of times they're more likely going to come out and show themselves at night versus during the day because factor in basically you have a lot of people around. Most likely, like it's funny on these public investigations, we'll see a lot of people that are trying to use an EMF. They're trying to pick up a EMF spike, But then when if you go to an unoccupied room, you'll get higher EMF spikes in that unoccupied room versus the room where the people are. So a lot of times it just comes down to basically, I think usually at night is when spirits are most active, because that's when people have a lot of reports of seeing things and hearing things. They tend to be more active during the night than they are during the day. But they are also active during the day. It just depends on the location, what happened there, who, what, when, where, why, and how. And basically, sometimes people report seeing poltergeists throwing things. Up in Washington, with Keith Linder's case with the Bothell Hell House and levitating plants. That happened during the day, but then we went to bed at night. He started hearing footsteps and all kinds of stuff. So,
Do you mean Washington State, like my Washington?
yes,
Oh my God.
he is. I would highly recommend getting him on the show because he has amazing story about the Bothell Hell House, and he did a couple of interviews with Heather Wade from Kingdom of Nye about this subject.
Oh my God. I go to Bothell sometimes. Didn't know there was a hell house there. I'm
Yes,
gonna have to look
absolutely,
into that.
definitely. Keith Linder's a great guest on it, and very good friend of ours. And he was also on Ghost Adventures with Dave Schrader, years back on that case. So it was pretty amazing stuff. So there's a lot going on in these old buildings, especially cemeteries, old ships, old museums. I mean, there's all you gotta do is just look up just type in like haunted, like just go to like a directory and like look up your state, and you'll find like weird Pennsylvania, weird Washington. They'll tell you all this stuff.
Yeah, I was just about to ask about cemeteries. It seems like people just tend to see a lot of things in cemeteries. Like, I don't know if it's the spirits themselves hanging out with their bodies, or there's some kind of like energy parasitism or something demonic going on there. But it seems like cemeteries are a hot spot.
Oh, absolutely. Factor in basically. There's probably dozens of people that have passed away. I mean, factor on like we try to avoid cemeteries ourselves because we feel walking on the dead is disrespecting those who have passed away. We try to usually avoid, unless I have to go to a funeral or something. I try to avoid stepping on other people because it's a sign of disrespect, and we definitely feel there's still spirits in these cemeteries still not at rest, depending on how they died. Did they die tragically? Or did they die? Basically, they might have some story to tell. Is there unfinished business while they're there? A lot of times in cemeteries, you'll sometimes like people report seeing like sitting on like a stone, all of a sudden feeling like being pushed off like that. So it really depends on the type of energy there and the history of the cemetery. I mean, there's a lot going on in these old cemeteries, and some of them date back to the even before the founding of the country, 1700s, 1600s.
Yeah, definitely. The the thing about places like this, it's so terrifying for me. But I kind of want to go on one of these days. What's a good way for someone like myself to break into the ghost hunting or paranormal investigation on location, the world that you're in? What could a common person do to kind of break into it?
Our best advice is for people that are interested in starting out in this field or just learning about the equipment. A lot of times there'll be, sometimes teams in your area. You can look up like, Washington paranormal teams, and sometimes local teams host public investigations. And you can go out and meet some of these teams and learn how to. Sometimes they'll bring some of their equipment out to the investigations. So you can sometimes they'll do lectures like we do. We do lectures at libraries and public speaking sessions. So a lot of times you can just go out and find locations that are going to be haunted in your state, and then see if they allow if they do public paranormal investigations. And there you can kind of get your foot on the ground running and learn, train with some of the teams that are running some of these events up in your area. And I'm sure a lot of them will be willing to teach. That's how I learned. I first got my start is by going to attending public paranormal investigations at different places near me. And I've met a lot of people that have influenced me to start my own team. And that's what happened. And then all of a sudden, Fan Detectives was born from basically doing exactly what I'm doing. Go to the conventions, meet, people at the different conventions, go to the public investigations, read books on the subject, and just search and for Facebook groups and social media pages and all that. So there's a lot of literature out there and for people that are interested in this field that they can get started right in their own state.
Well, I find places like Gettysburg to be really interesting because it kind of brings up the question of why certain places get haunted. Um, what do you think about that? Is it unresolved issues that somebody might have? Are some places just more likely because of uh, dead bodies, like a cemetery? Why do you suppose some places are just so heavily haunted, and some places just seem to have a more cleaner energy?
I think it's based upon all in the past events. Especially like a place like Gettysburg. I know Mark Nesbitt, who is actually the tour guide out there, and he has collected dozens of eyewitness accounts of people seeing regiments. And then they go to the regiments, regiments of of troops, actual Union Confederate troops, walking down. They're marching on the battlefield. But then when these people go back and say, "Hey, thank you for the wonderful demonstration," and then basically they go to the office. Oh, we didn't have a of marching soldiers on that particular day, or people seeing, basically hearing, Union's cannons going off in Gettysburg. A lot of these locations, it's all based upon pretty much what happened in the past. That kind of determines what kind of energy is at these locations. Like, was there like a ritual done that could have caused a negative attachment with someone getting with summoning doing Ouija board stuff and seances, like the Winchester house, that story with Sarah Winchester. And then basically, of course, it all depends on what happened in the past, as it sets the foundation for the future and the present. So basically, that's how we've noticed on basically our research at every place and has a history to tell, and the past events kind of shape up exactly what happened. So if something tragic happened, and a spirit might be stuck between heaven and hell, they don't know where they're supposed to be at, and sometimes they need to be brought back to the light or brought back to where they came from. So these spirits are still have unfinished business here, and it all depends on the past events because those past events determine the future.
Yeah, that definitely that makes a lot of sense to me. Um, Joshua, what would you say is your all-time most frightening or scary experience or thing that you've picked up or seen out in the field or in your personal life or ever?
I want to say, out of every case that we have done, because we've done so many cases over the years, we were at a location called Boobies Brewery, Bubes, which is in Mount Joy, Pennsylvania. Like boobies, but then it's basically. But the really funny thing about that investigation was we actually have a tripwire EMF. It's like a string of Christmas lights with multiple EMF sensors on it. And that night that we were there, we captured three full body apparitions on a thermal camera, and then literally right after we did that, like right in the bar area, all the lights started going off like crazy, and then Rick and Melissa started feeling heaviness on their chest. So the brewery is still very haunted. It's one of the haunted locations in Pennsylvania. And then, of course, when we did the Selma Mansion, which is based in right outside King of Prussia in Norristown, we were Rick and Melissa were upstairs, and all the equipment was going off like crazy, and there was all these dolls and stuff, and we did not even try to dare. And what's funny thing is, one of our guest investigators' husbands had arrived to pick up his wife, and he reported seeing, "Hey, did you guys see that brown haired gentleman up there? Was that one of you guys?" And we're like, "No, we weren't even on that floor." And there was equipment going off up there like crazy. So the Selma Mansion, and Melissa was also picking up a connection. She says, "Lincoln, Lincoln." I'm picking up a connection to Lincoln. And then when I go back and check the history, I find out that General Andrew Porter, who created the house in 1794, he fought in the American Revolution under General Washington, actually was the great grandfather of Mary Todd Lincoln, President Lincoln's wife. So that was one of the most wildest investigations that we've ever had. And it continues, that I still have a lot of memories of that place to this day.
Can you tell us about the world's largest ghost hunt?
Yes, the world's largest ghost hunt is an event that was created by Maria Schmidt and Brian J. Cano. Brian J. Cano was on The Haunted Collector with John Zaffis. He was the tech manager on that show. And John Zaffis, of course, is the nephew of Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous demonologist based out of Connecticut. They created Nesper. I'm not exactly sure how you spell it, but
Oh, cool.
Maria Schmidt and Brian wanted to bring para-unity to the world. So they created this event where 100 plus teams from around the world at once via live stream, basically. And the idea was to bring para-unity. So all these, haunted historical locations and everyone in different time zones together as one night, one time, every the fourth weekend in September. And we've done the last two world's largest ghost hunts. And the night that we were doing the world's largest ghost hunt 2021, we were at the Sanderson Museum, which is this old, basically museum in Chadsford, Pennsylvania. And it was actually founded in 1967 by Andrew Wyeth. And there, we all went downstairs to basically, change out some of our equipment and get some different apparatuses. And that night, Rick and Melissa went downstairs in one of the stairs, and literally all the bags, our equipment bags, are piled up like this, like literally like this. And they asked us, my former team member and I, hey, did you guys pile up those equipment bags and block us from leaving the place? And we're like, no, we weren't even on that floor at that time. So basically, those equipment bags, and then when we went back and we asked an EVP, are you trying to move our equipment bags and trying to block us from leaving? We picked up this basically voice on the EVP that said, be afraid, be afraid. So that to me shows that this was the spirit of Helen Sanderson, who actually died in the house in the 1940s. She actually had tuberculosis. So she passed away around 1946, 47, according to my history, knowledge of the property. So definitely these locations are just all amazing. And what's amazing is basically the most active room in this museum is in the violin room. And there, like when we started playing square dancing music, the activity started ramping up like crazy. So when we did World's Largest Ghost Hunt 2022, unfortunately, Maria wasn't involved this year. So basically, we tried to they changed from StreamYard. We were using StreamYard last year, which was so easy to use, but then they changed the streaming software on us and we couldn't log in, unfortunately. But at Poplar Hill Mansion, which is in Salisbury, Maryland, we still recorded the investigation and put it on Second Team Entertainment. We actually captured a thermal image of a servant lady who died in the house up in the daughter's bedroom in Poplar, of a full body apparition of this lady. And basically it's right on our website, familydetectives.org, under investigation 12. So that to me was pretty wild stuff. So World's Largest Ghost Hunt is, hopefully Maria will be back next year because she's really good at planning the event. And you can just go to largestghosthunt.com and read all the information as it relates to the event, how to register and all that.
I'm looking at your website right now. It looks like we can actually go back and look through all of your past investigations.
Yes. Yep. And all the evidence that we've captured up from that, we've been on the cover of Paranormal Underground magazine. We've been in Phenomena magazine in the UK. We've been in Fate magazine. Basically, we've also been in American Paranormal magazine. We're going to be on the cover of Haunted magazine next year. We're also going to be on the cover of, basically Paranormality magazine. We've also been on the news before. So all of our magazine covers are always going to be, we're going to constantly updating our website every month and adding more and more content to it. And we also have a press and media page that we just developed where people can see all the radio shows we've been on. They can also see like where we're going to be at if we're doing a lecture at a certain location and all that. We've been on the news and everything too. So this website is going to be constantly built for expansion.
Looks like you're putting some articles up there as well.
Yes, we are. And what we want to do is when our clients go to our website, we have a Discord server, much like you, and where people can go and talk to us live if they have a case. And we also have now domain emails. So basically, anybody that needs to get a hold of me, my email's director@phantomdetectives.org. At the bottom, you can also log into Discord and click the green check mark near the ME6 box in the rules channel to get a hold of us. But we have basically a lot of things on that website. So we want to be able to make sure, explain like the 4 types of hauntings, what people can do. I'm also going to release a new article on orbs in the near future on the website. So I want to make it easy as possible for everyone to have as much information on what we do and how we prepare our paranormal investigation versus other teams. And I think we're one of the fastest growing teams in the state.
Can you tell us about the Summerwind Restoration Society?
Yes, so the Summerwind Restoration Society was a project that Craig Naring and I, he lives in Wisconsin. Basically, we founded that in 2014, and I bought the original blueprints from the brother of Ginger Hinshaw, basically in 2014. So the idea was to restore and rebuild and relaunch Summerwind as a haunted bed and breakfast. At one time on a newsfeed on YouTube, I basically Craig said, "Hey, I know the owners call me." And when I told him I had the blueprints, we decided to, hey, no one's ever rebuilt a haunted house before. So we created the Summerwind Restoration Society. So the history of the place is pretty amazing itself. It was built in 1914 as West Bay Lake Fishing Lodge by a man named John Frank, who lived in Akron, Ohio. But then he sold it 2 years later to future U.S. Secretary of Commerce Herbert Hoover. And there, Mr. Hoover and his basically had servants tell him, hey, the house is basically haunted, and he tells them, hey, grow up. But then when he had his own paranormal experience, there was an episode called A Haunting of Summerwind, season 1, episode 2 on Discovery Channel. You can still see it from 2005. And there, basically, Mr. Lamont and his wife were eating dessert one day, and the basement door flew open, revealing the ghostly form of a man. He, took his black powder pistol, fired 2 shots, missing the ghost, and then basically the bullet holes were still in the door, 40 years later. So when Mr. Lamont died in 1948, the property went to Miss Kiefer, and Miss Kiefer actually, had people over the next 20 years, it went back to her. But then when the von Bober family, or the Hinshaw family moved in, I know the Hinshaw family personally. I'm friends with them. And basically, when Ginger and her family moved in, they had to have this place, but then they had to resort to nailing all the windows shut because the windows would fly open on their own.
Oh my God.
There was also reports of a car catching on fire. Workers would be working on things like trying to fix this and tighten this, and then all of a sudden the tools would disappear. And also what happened was the stepdad went, according to the story, the stepdad that played the organ at all hours of the night and went crazy. And then, basically then, he was committed to a mental institution up in Canada. Last time I heard from him, his real name was Jim Hill. And then, of course, Wolfgang von Bober, Ginger's father, thought he could make it go to the place again. He ran into the same problem the Hinshaws did, from 73 to 79. They tried to turn it into a bed and breakfast, but, they ran into the same kind of, also Summerwind was known as shape change. And there was actually reports of this, like they would measure rooms, like, from the tape measure, from the original blueprints. And they noticed the rooms would change shape, which is pretty wild.
That's a trip. That is a trip.
Absolutely. And then when Miss Kiefer died in 1985, the property was then purchased by a couple from across Wisconsin by the name of Harold and Babs Tracy. Craig knows the owners personally. His website is FV, V as in Victor, GhostHunters.com. And he's been knowing the owners since literally the late 90s, early 2000s. And he hosts public investigations on the Summerwind property. You can also go to the Restoration Society group, which is Summerwind Haunted Mansion on Facebook. And there they do all their events there. And when Mr. and Miss Tracy bought the property in 85 from the estate of Lillian Kiefer, they reported walking up to the driveway one night and they felt the mansion was like inhaling. But then, unfortunately, 2 years later, the place burnt down in 1988. And that's where basically, unfortunately, it was leveled by lightning and fire. But actually, there was a neighbor at Summerwind, basically back when the place burnt down on Father's Day of 1988, and he came forward with new information about what happened that day, that the township was tired of people walking and trespassing on the property. So basically, they got tired of all the vandalizing. So supposedly, the fire marshal in 1988 told this neighbor basically, hey, the town's going to be there on site, not to worry. So according to this neighbor, he saw the township basically spread out bales of hay and then basically just burn it, and it just leveled it like a domino effect, just boom, went down. So all that remains today of Summerwind are the 2 tall chimneys, the foundation around the property, and there's arches that are still on the property itself. So that's all that remains of Summerwind today. But we have the original blueprint, so we can rebuild it. We just need to come up with $500,000 to $700,000 to basically rebuild the mansion, and that money these days and age is hard to come by. But if we can, we can relaunch this as like basically a haunted mansion, a haunted museum, and a haunted bed and breakfast, which I think would be so cool. It would rival Zach Baggins' haunted museum and possibly be even better.
Yeah, I would love to see something like that come together. That'd be pretty cool. It could be like an epicenter for people interested in this type of stuff.
Exactly. And what's awesome is we can also open it up. It can be, used as a museum, for the historical, because it was U.S. Secretary of Commerce's house, but also it can be used for paranormal investigations on the weekend. So that'll be up to Craig, of course, and the owners that would do that. But I think this idea, we were trying to get the project on Travel Channel a couple of years ago, but unfortunately, when it was during the pandemic, when the pandemic was going on, COVID was raging. They weren't doing nothing with it because there were budget cuts. So unfortunately, the project didn't make it to Travel Channel. But I have the trailer of that, and I can send it to you over LinkedIn or email to you, like what we're trying to do with it. So we are hoping to be able to eventually air this, make a new updated version of the Summerwind story on basically on Paraflix or Second Team Entertainment. We just got to record the segments, and then what we'll do is basically air it. And hopefully, that can come. An investor can come forward, drop the money down, and run whatever business they want on the property, and basically, hopefully, it'll be a positive thing. And I think if Summerwind's rebuilt, people won't have to trespass on the property anymore.
Yeah, it seems to me like a lot of people that are more casuals to this field. They watch the Travel Channel. It seems to have a lot of reach. Is there any plans to work with them in the future? Have you been on there?
Not yet per se, but I am definitely open to going there. Right now we're starting off on Second Team Entertainment, which is great, and hopefully this network will grow and take off. But I know all the guys on Ghost Hunters. I see them a lot at the conventions. I always I'm hoping eventually to work up to Discovery Plus. That is our end goal. Was I would love within the next 2 to 3 years to be having our streaming content, our investigations over there, and also move our TV show. So that's very definitely one of our goals. So we just got to start off where we're at right now, build that base there. And eventually, when time goes on and we have to move up to the next level, that's what we're going to do. So I think we're off to a great start. We've only been together for about 2 years, but this society is definitely gaining a lot of traction. There's a lot of people that are really amazed at how much progress we've made in only 2 years. And, from the Discord server to, acquiring Dark Matter News to the 4 websites that we have on our team to, all the other things going on. It's just amazing to see how, something that you're passionate about and you put the work into it starts blossoming and starts growing. And it's definitely getting out of its infancy now. We're finally recognized. People are starting to know who we are. I've had people in the store say, "Hey, I've seen you guys on your Roku and Fire TV as the fan of detectives." So it's always so cool to see when people greet you and know you by name from a TV show that we've done. So the plans are in working with Discovery Channel are definitely are in our rearview mirror.
Are you into scary movies at all, or do you feel like they kind of give your field of work a bad name? How do you feel about them in general? Are there any that you feel actually do a good job of showing what goes on out there?
I think so. I think a lot of these scary movies, I think they're great because it. I think that sometimes they have sometimes create a wrong kind of message, but overall, for me, I think horror movies are great because basically, they kind of give a different perspective, of life and basically how things are perceived, by people. I think sometimes it's good to change it up from comedies to dramas. So I think that especially doing what we do, we're kind of like kind of semi horror because we do like stuff like what we do, and basically it's been a field that's been there's been the Jason movies, the Freddy movies, the Chucky movies since the 80s. It's been going on a long time, and I don't expect it to ever change. Rob Zombie, the famous musician's done horror movies, so I expect this to continue to go on, and I don't see a problem with it as long as kids don't start going crazy and doing like imitating what they see in these movies. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about it. I mean, it definitely lends to the suspense that makes people interested in what what you yourself do. So I think that there's definitely that interest, especially around Halloween time. I think
Oh
people
yeah.
really start thinking about this stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And that's when our busiest time is. And we've got 2 investigations this month, and then we're going to take it easy. And next year, we're also filming a documentary. We're going to be interviewing top authorities in the field, and we're going to produce it ourselves. We're going to edit the video. So we'll keep you updated, and we'll get you a link when it's released. We're going to be filming, we're going to be taking a couple months off to work on this documentary. And it's going to be about how to approach a paranormal investigation, where we interview different authorities in the field, and then we're going to package it together and video edit it and put it out, possibly on Discovery, or maybe even Rick is really great. He's a director. He very much has a director's mindset because he's worked in the film business out in California for many years. So he's very comfortable with working with people, and he knows how to bring out all of our personalities. So I'm really excited. So hopefully we can get Zach Baggins involved, and Jeff Bellinger, and Katrina Wyman, and different people in the UFO field like Linda Moulton Howell, and everyone else. It'll be a lot of fun. So we'll keep you updated when it's released sometime next summer.
Okay, excellent. And that does bring us to the end of our interview. But what I always like to do is just open things up. Joshua, if you want to jump back up on the soapbox one more time, tell my audience out there whatever you would like to say to them. If you want to give them advice, if you want to just give a speech on anything, and please feel free to follow that up with anything at all that you would like to promote, anything you'd like to plug, anything that you have upcoming. Any final words? Now is your chance, Joshua. Go now.
Yes, so we can be reached on, we have actually 5 websites. Our first website is Phantom, Phantom, phantomdetectives.org is our team website. To reach Rick, our lead investigator, director of client relations, and our basically tech manager, he can be reached at ERC, the new ERC, the numeral 2, explore.com. So ERC2explore.com. He has a wonderful UFO website for everyone that loves UFOs and flying saucers. Melissa can be reached at psychic, PHYSHIC, so psychicmediumautumn.com for anybody that needs readings done, psychicmediumautumn.com. Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer or researcher, he can be reached, he can be reached at afterlifefrequency.com. So that's the word afterlife frequency, all one word.com. And of course, Dark Matter News. We can be reached at darkmatternews.com. And my for people that my best advice that are in the field is stay vigilant, pay attention to everything that's going on with us, and pay attention to everything that's going on. The field is going to constantly be evolving, and I expect this field to really get bigger and bigger over the next couple years. And always, just if you guys ever feel that you're need a team that basically that's in your area, if we can't get to it, we have plenty of teams around the country that are willing to help. We are very dedicated to our clients, and we will find you a team in your area that can give you a home or business. So once paranormalsocieties.org is set up, everyone will be able to go into the directory and find everybody. So we want the best for all of our people. We're going to treat every one of our fans and our support with kindness and respect. And we believe that this is going to be the best. We're going to be one of the best teams in the field within the next 3 or 4 years. And I'm very excited to have an interview with you, Dana. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a lot of fun as well. And I definitely would like to stay caught up with you and what you have going on and bring you back on the program to get updates from Phantom Detectives.
Oh, absolutely. And next time, maybe what we can do is we can do it with Rick and Melissa, and we can bring them on. Basically that'll be a lot of fun. So we'll find a date and we'll make it happen, and that'll be great because they can add in their perspectives to our paranormal investigations, and I think they'll add a lot more, to what we already have.
Yeah, let's do it. We can do it kind of like roundtable format and bring everybody up on camera. That sounds like a lot of fun.
That sounds awesome. I really appreciate your time. It was great to interview with you, and I look forward to all your wonderful listeners. It was so great to finally talk with all of them, and I'm really excited. Hopefully, we'll be back in the future.
All right, excellent. Until then, good night, my friend. And there you have it. That was our new friend, Joshua Chairs, the founder of Phantom Detectives, up and coming hot investigation group into the paranormal. They've done plenty of work so far, and they have plenty of work to do in the future. And as we said during the interview, we will stay caught up with him and the rest of the team too. let's go ahead and take a break. I do want to, freshen up and whatnot. But when we come back, we're gonna go right into our newsreel segment. Our I can't say daily news because we don't do a show every day. I can't say weekly news because yeah, you catch me sloughing so much. But I'd say like this is news for the month, right? I don't know. But we'll come back. We'll talk about current events. We'll shoot the shit. If anybody wants to jump up on here with me, if anybody wants to join in, you're welcome to. Just go to the top of the stream on YouTube and click on that join us live link. And you can hop in with us and say what you got to say. But I will be back very soon.
Raising consciousness and awakening mankind. This is End of Days Radio.
We are live!
Fuck, man, I'm so far out of fucking tune with this. I don't know what's up. I can't get it. I just can't find it. You're not recording right now, right?
Yeah.
Well, your man's gonna play that same round.
We are live!
What the fuck was that? Weird. Fuck it up.
Here I am left standing. I never had a gun. I'm still standing here now. Am I the only one? I can hear your footsteps. They always surround me. You give me one good reason that I should believe. The end of days, days, end of days. Radio show. That's on. Yeah. Let's check it out. Let's see how it sounds.
Welcome back to the end of days. Today's date, once again, is November 6th, 2022. Wow. So, as you know, this is our, our newsreel section, our town square, our roundtable wrap-up section. I constantly change the name. I constantly experiment and change things around. But you know what? That's okay. Because it always ends up being the same thing. Me sitting here talking about current events, giving my opinions, going on the occasional rant, and sometimes inviting one of you to join me in my madness. I had a good Halloween. I felt like that Halloween energy was finally back. I saw kids trick-or-treating for the first time in a long time. Saw some pretty good costumes out there. I saw some costumes. I didn't know what they were. I couldn't figure it out. Like I saw this one kid, he was like this blue giant blueberry, and he had a light in there, and I don't know what he was supposed to be. I was thinking maybe he was the girl from Willy Wonka, but he's probably some new character from some cartoon or some show that young people like that I've never heard of, because that's literally how out of touch I am. I'm still back in the late 90s and early 2000s. That's where my consciousness has landed, and that's where it probably will always be. I did see an interesting video on social media the other day. It was of this year's Commonwealth Games. No, Al, he sent a message to the chat. He said Veruca Salt. I don't think it's Veruca Salt. It's the other girl. It's boy, I'm not sure what her name was, but I know Veruca was her dad was Salt. the guy that worked for Nuts, and the Blueberry Girl was like her dad was a car salesman, something like that. Violet, her name was Violet. They go, Violet, you're turning violet. But hey, this thing I was seeing on social media, it was of the 2022 Commonwealth Games, and Prince Charles was there, of course. And the whole thing was obviously another one of these Illuminati rituals. They had this giant mechanical bull with all these crazy LED lights inside his eyes and his snout, and they were dancing around it, and it had all these chains coming out of the ring in its snout, and they had something that looked like the Tower of Babel. I invite you to go on Twitter or YouTube or wherever you can find this posted, the 2022 Commonwealth Games, and tell me that that's not some kind of Illuminati ritual right there. If that doesn't symbolize Moloch or Baal or one of those guys from Grub. Hey boys, I'm on lunch at work. Shout out to Grub. Definitely going to have him on here soon for a full interview. He's a very fascinating fellow. But yeah, you guys remember the tunnel opening? Remember that whole thing? That tunnel opening, the Illuminati ritual? Well, I actually bought a whole book on that. I don't know where I put it. It's on my bookshelf, but this is well along the same vein. This is very much as Illuminati as you can imagine. 2022 Commonwealth Games. Watch the ritual. You know they're showing us things. They're giving us messages. They're all these things are magical rituals. So we got to pay close attention to what these royal weirdos and these bankers and these aristocratic families are up to. We got to pay close attention to that. In other news, Elon Musk has finally begun to take control of Twitter. He's taking control of it. It's a hostile takeover. He says he's getting rid of all the censorship. He's firing people. You're fired. And it's chaos. What can I say? It's chaos. There's people complaining, employees saying that they're homeless now. He's on Twitter every day trolling. He says he's going to get rid of all the celebrity check marks. Anybody's going to get one if they pay $8 a month. I'm going to get one if I pay $8 a month. So End of Days Radio is going to be verified. I've always thought Elon Musk was one of these like characters, like he's not a real person. He's like a crisis actor or something like that. But I have to say, I like these changes. I like them. I mean, if whatever the theta or whatever the outcome, if it's benefiting me, and I feel like I have a little bit more leeway, even if it's only something I perceive and not real, then I'll take it. A lot of these people probably deserve to be fired. I mean, hey, why are they over censoring people? Are they going to bring Trump back? Are they going to do that whole show again? It's just going to be fun, regardless. Where's he going to take it all? Is this going to blend into the whole Neuralink thing? Have you looked that up? Neuralink with Elon Musk? Or is it all going to go to the same place? Like, we're going to have to accept a chip in our forehead in order to be able to go on Twitter. Native Martians call themselves the Elon. That's from Al. Interesting. The Elon. Wanted to talk a little bit about our Halloween roundtable show. Great reception for that. A lot of people turned out. A lot of fans turned out. Great show. Fun time. Everybody had fun. Everybody liked it. There were some that were saying it was the best show ever. The best End of Days Radio episode ever. We had a surprise appearance from past co-host Michael Deacon. That was a big plus for many people that have been watching the show for years and years. And as for the format of the show, I'm just going to keep it in flux. I mean, sometimes we'll do an interview. Sometimes we'll do a roundtable show. Sometimes we'll do this. Sometimes we'll do that. There's no rules. Why should I play by any rules? Why do I need to do anything like that? I mean, hey, we'll do some interviews. We'll do another roundtable. It's going to happen again. For those of you that wet your beak and really enjoyed that, we'll do it again. But I do want to take a moment to do our mind blowing moment of the day. Usually I have more instruments close. Ever since I moved, I've been really sticking with the egg, as to not piss off the neighbors too much. Mind blowing, mind blowing, mind blowing moment of the day. I'm gonna say that it was when Joshua was telling us about capturing those little girl ghosts on camera. I've never been a big fan of little girl ghosts. Somehow they're scarier than adult ghosts. I don't know why. Like that girl from The Ring. Ooh, ooh. Why is that scary? You would think a little kid would be the least scary thing imaginable, yet that whole thing. Ooh. I remember when I saw The Ring, I was traumatized and creeped out for weeks. And that was the American version. I never even watched the Japanese version. I'm too scared to. I mean, if the American version did that to me, then what's the original gonna do? No thanks. I'll skip it in this lifetime. Maybe in the next. I'll go back. I'm good. There are a lot of classic Halloween movies, though. I've been watching the new Interview with the Vampire. I think I talked about that last week. It's it's different. It's not like I read the original book. I read like the first two, something like that. And I saw the original movie, and this is just very different, very different. They tackle more racial issues and LGBT issues and things of that nature. Things that weren't really on the plate when the original book or movie came out. And it's bloody, it's violent, it's horrific. It's pretty good so far. I mean, I can't complain too much. It's if you're into vampires, you'll probably like it. You might want to close your eyes during some of the lovemaking scenes. I can forewarn you about that. But it's a good watch. It's on AMC. I think Sundays at 9 or 10, something like that. Check it out. Uh, they're saying now that vaccines are going to have to be yearly. That's actually been something that's being tossed around for a while now. So you gotta they're conditioning everybody to get used to the idea of going in for a yearly shot. That seems to be one of the end goals that's clearing up for us that are keeping track of this whole thing. It seems they want to really condition us towards 1 year boosters. Something's got to happen on the yearly. Like they're probably going to put more and more weird nanobots in there and more DNA altering genetic information and things of that nature. That way they can tweak us along as they alter our DNA and alter our race and guide us into the occult transhumanistic LTBJ future of animal love and integration with the machine. Legal pedophilia, that's one of their goals. These sick bastards. This is what they're ushering us into. This is what they want. They're laying it all out for us. Our occulted future, our future of transhumanistic magical madness, forces of chaos unleashed, and the false enlightenment of the masses. It's all unfolding as we speak. The Illuminati card game, it's coming true. Uh, Moving on. So the Houston Astros won the World Series. Congrats to them. I heard people saying that they're cheaters. I'm new to getting back into baseball, so a lot of the stuff I'm still learning about. I find it fascinating. I know they got some really great players, but they did win in 2017. It's kind of lame that they won again. That's the thing about baseball. No salary cap. The same teams win a lot. I'm hoping the Mariners, they invest that cash and they make it happen. This year was fantastic. I mean, first playoff stretch in a long, very, very long time. That's hopeful. And the Seahawks won just now, so shout out to those Hawks, those ball Hawks. Another win, another glorious performance by Geno Smith, the world's greatest underdog of the year, MVP, should be MVP. Uh, man, Halloween is so much fun. I feel like it's over too quick, but as I like to say, all year is Halloween for this show and for fans of the show who enjoy this content. It just goes on and on and on. And I've got some great stuff coming up. We're gonna touch bases with General Lee, of course, from Subconscious Realms. Been trying to make that happen for a while, but we had some synchronistic types of things happen that prevented that from happening. But it was only so that we could build something even greater in the future. So we're probably gonna have him on. Looks like we're scheduled for the 20th. So we're gonna go ahead and bang that out on another Sunday fun day. We'll see what we're gonna do next week. We'll definitely have somebody on here. I'm just kind of keeping that slot open right now to build spontaneity and keep things fresh. No, it's just what's happening. But good things ahead. Good things in the past. Check out our last two shows, those roundtable shows. So much fun. It's always good when I open this show up to you guys because everything just comes alive and we find out what's going on out there in the end of days world. I always hear the same thing. Like people say, Daniel, more people than you realize listen to this show. Like you don't even realize how many people this show reaches. And I love to hear stuff like that. I love to hear feedback about this show. I love to hear feedback about my work on social media. I love all this stuff. But I always want to take things to the next level too. And um I want to reach new heights, right? And to make that happen, I do need donations because the donations they help me make ends meet. They help me keep the lights on. They help me afford equipment like this microphone. And the better I can do those things, and the less pressure I have on me just to live my daily life, the more I can invest into this show. So thank you so much for everybody that's donated. And please, if you don't mind donating even $2, $5, $10, buy me a cup of coffee. It goes a long freaking way. And it just motivates the hell out of me to just keep doing this show. I mean, hey, if I can get a little help making ends meet, you'll always see me up here. You'll always hear me. And you will anyway, even if you don't donate or nobody donates. I'll still do it. But when you guys help me out like that, oh my God, it means the world. It really does. It makes me so happy because I just look forward to that day where I could just live off of those donations to the show, to get paid by the listeners. And I'd have to have a lot of listeners. I'd probably have to have like 1 million listeners, but you know what? We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll just chip away at it. Things don't happen all at once. They just, they happen when they're supposed to happen. And I believe this is the time. This is the time to really grab that mainstream attention, that mainstream appeal. This is the age of the podcast. I mean, old podcasts killed the radio star. What can I say? This is our time. This is our time to move on it and capture the flag. So please keep track of me on social media at Ninja Shoes on Twitter, End of Days Radio on Twitter, and either of those will work. Check me out on Twitter. Check me out on Facebook and Instagram. Join our Discord channel, TLB Talk, Getter, Parlor. I'm still not on True Social. That's incoming, but I'll definitely get on there. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on what's that? You won't be able to live off of listeners. My ex had over 20,000 subs and barely made 200 to 400 monthly. That's from the Bat Mom. Well, yeah, that's I appreciate that feedback. That's a lot. That's 20,000 subs. And I totally get that. So if he had 40,000, he would make like 6 to 800, and if he had 80,000, he'd make like over 1,000, and if he had like hundreds of thousands, then he probably would be able to make a living, right? And Batmom says, "I'm just saying it's hard." No doubt, no doubt. I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the realness. I appreciate the reality because that's the truth, and that is true. There's a lot of podcasts out there, and there's a lot of competition, and to get up into the millions, you have to do something really special. You have to really capture people's attention and be able to stand out, and that's not easy. But yeah, that is the end goal. That is the main goal, to be able to push numbers like that, and I'm willing to do what it takes. I'm willing to, you know, do whatever it takes to get where I want to go. I totally believe in that manifesting. And even if I just get to that point where it's a little paycheck, boy, would that be nice. I mean, that would pay my car insurance, or that would pay this or that. And it would be like a return on all the time invested. But like I said, I'll do it anyways, because this is what I like to do. I'm a big fan of that radio magic, and I'm a big fan of coming on here and interviewing some interesting people. I love the fact that on the show we tend to find guests in just the most like weird, synchronistic, magical ways. Like they all just kind of come from that in network stuff. Like just people that I'm coming across or meeting on social media, or people that email me, or it's just like I don't ever have to go out seeking. I always just find the right person magically, and I love that. But I'll leave you guys for now. We'll be back next week. We're not gonna take too many breaks here. This is a new age. This is the time for this show. So if you like this show, hey, come on our live show, hop on, or just listen. Either way, you're good. But I will see you guys next week. Until then, you have a good night.